Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. This week it's all about sharing our research with the public by public speaking. Hi, welcome back to our little academic channel here on YouTube. My name is Caroline, I am a UK-based physics lecturer. This one is all about communicating our research through public speaking with the wider public. Now, I was doing this last week. I was at a festival, it was called Pint of Science, and the idea was to bring our research to the general audience of the town that surrounds my university. And I've done this event now for, I've done it a few times, and I really enjoy it. It's a lovely opportunity to connect and share what goes on at the university. But I know for some of us that standing on a stage or getting in front of a crowd and talking about our research really isn't a thing that we like to do. I mean, some of us love it and some of us really don't like it very much at all. But it is really important, I think, being able to take your area, your specialism, your discipline, and being able to connect with the wider public about why it's important or why it's interesting or why it matters. That's a really useful thing that we should be doing. In this video then, I'm going to share, just a few top tips for how to make that experience nicer if you're the person on the stage sharing your research. First up then, I think when we're sharing a technical subject, and in my case I was talking about artificial intelligence and nuclear physics, when we're sharing something, it's important to think about how that's going to be received by the audience. And I'm a big fan of using kind of narrative type presentations. So, we like stories. As children we grow up with stories. As adults we read fiction books often. Stories are things that we can remember and that kind of stay with us. And so moving our research into a more storytelling narrative framework can make it more fun, more memorable, more enjoyable for the audience to listen to. So, I try to make sure that my presentations and my talks and my evening events aren't just a series of I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. I try to make it more into a fun story, and the research kind of slots into that narrative that I'm sharing. And I will drop in, alongside the actual facts and research content, I'll drop in personal things as well. So, funny things that happened in the laboratory, or challenges that, our students and I faced together to try to get a measurement to work, or when something went completely wrong, or maybe if there's a famous person in history who's connected to that research, I'll drop in an interesting thing about them and their life. I'll try to make the research and the kind of the factual content of the research linked to something memorable and personable to make that story more interesting to listen to. Second up, I think about what tools I'm going to have available to me. So I knew this was going to be this particular talk the other week in a pub venue. So we're going to be using a room at the back of the pub that could take about 70, 80 people. And I wanted to create an atmosphere when those people arrived. And so actually I chose specific music to play as people were taking their seats to set the kind of the tone and the atmosphere for what this artificial intelligence talk was going to be all about. And then when I was on the stage, I immediately tried to use a bit of humour to welcome the audience. Now this will come naturally to some of us and not so much to others. I have tried stand-up comedy. I think it's easier when you're giving a talk and you could just drop in a few funny things rather than trying to be funny for a whole set. That's a lot more challenging, I found. So I tried to make the audience at ease, and I tried to welcome them in a fun way by putting them onto my side. So I think I said something like, if you know about AI, there's this thing called ChatGPT, and it's a technology which is basically a very powerful search type engine that brings information together in a kind of contextual form. And I made a joke at the start saying that my talk hadn't been written by ChatGPT, and it was indeed myself who was going to give this particular evening lecture. And that got a little ripple of a laughter, and then we went from there into kind of more the story and more of the narrative of the presentation. But I also think alongside the music and kind of the welcoming the audience, I think about what tools I have. I think I've got it here actually. This I use a lot. It's a little clicker, so it lets me walk around so I'm not stuck to a particular point in the stage or the presentation space. I can move freely, and whatever graphics I'm using to support my talk, I can click them onto wherever I am in the room. So that's something I would definitely recommend if you haven't got one, is to unconnect yourself from your slides and your laptop and allow yourself that space to move within wherever you're giving your presentation. And yeah, using a kind of a remote clicking tool is a really good thing to have. I guess the other thing I'm thinking of, if I'm the audience looking at the slides, and often I quite use visual slides to support what I'm saying, there's a time and a place for them to be very scientific, and usually that's within some kind of a conference setting. When I'm talking to the general public, my slides are much, I guess, simpler in terms of their layout. Not necessarily their content and the message that I'm trying to get beyond each slide or behind each slide, but visually I will not have cluttered slides. You know, I'll have big colourful pictures, I will use themes, I will not overuse transitions and sliding kind of points between the slides, but I will use a bit of movement and animation in my slides to kind of capture points and bring them alive. And I'll have check-in points with the audience where we have kind of recaps on what I've said and we have kind of fun moments. But I try to make my slides clear, visually appealing, and not information dense on the slide, because the slide is supporting what I'm actually saying to that particular audience. And I guess the final thing I try to do when I'm chatting to the public is I want to engage that public audience to really connect with what I'm saying. And there's different ways you can do that, but the way I tried it last week was I actually invited audience members up onto the stage area with me, and we had like this kind of fun challenge quiz, and it brought the whole audience into doing it as well. So everyone in the audience could participate. We were looking to see if people could tell the difference between scripts and answers that have been written by robots versus those written by humans. And it was lighthearted and it was fun and it was engaging. Actually, the people who came up onto stage, they also got some small prizes to take away. They got some themed pint glasses to go with the evening event. But it kind of keeps people's attention. And if your audience is actively doing something and actively thinking about what you're saying, it can also help make your message kind of stick a little bit more and to kind of resonate with people. So yeah, I definitely try to have some kind of dynamic, interactive element with the audience. But that's just what I do. It changes depending on the audience I'm talking to, the location, the venue. We can definitely chat about this more in the future. One of the modules I lead at my university is an engagement module. And it's hard. People have different styles of engagement, and you don't necessarily want to go too far from your comfort style. I've been there and seen people try to do things that aren't really their kind of style, if you like, and it doesn't quite work or quite fit with them. So you want to work with your natural presenting style, but yeah, think about how you can keep that presentation fun, engaging and memorable. But let me know in the comments, what do you do when you're chatting to a public audience, and how do you bring your research alive to that kind of group? Leave me a comment. I love reading your comments. Have a great week as always. If you've not hit subscribe, please do. It's a lovely free, well, I say it's a lovely, I think it's a lovely. It's a free academic channel here on YouTube, so please do join our academic conversation. Hit the subscribe button. If you're feeling really keen, turn on the notification bell, although typically I'm here every Monday at 10 o'clock. So have a really good week, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.